All right. Have you ever wondered if letting your students could make videos actually deepen their understanding of math? And what if video projects weren't just for ELA or elective classes, but a powerful tool you could use in your math classroom? Welcome back to the Modern Math Teacher Podcast. I'm your host, Kristen Moore, and today I'm joined by Clement Townsend, founder of Video Pro Learning and a leading voice in helping teachers use video projects to increase student engagement, something we are all looking for, especially in math classrooms. Now, before entering education, he spent nearly 20 years as a sports journalist, a job I would have dreamed of doing, covering major events like the Super Bowl, the NBA All Star game. And since then, he has worked with over 800 students, helping them build creativity and those ever important future ready skills through video creation. And I've got to say, you guys, this topic, this conversation is one that is close to my heart. I started creating my own instructional videos way back at the end of my last pregnancy when my little guy put me into bed rest 6 weeks before the school year ended. And that led to the uncovery of blended learning, the modern classrooms movement, and my classroom has never been the same. So I'm really excited to talk about how we can flip the script and get students behind the camera to show what they know. Clement, welcome to the podcast. For
Kristen, I'm
anyone
so
who,
excited. Go ahead. I'm
yeah, thank
sorry.
you. For anyone who's not familiar with your work, can you share a little bit about yourself and what led you to Video Pro Learning?
Absolutely. Again, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me on the podcast. You mentioned that I was on television for 17 years. And then back in 2018, I moved into education and I started doing digital media programs with various schools around Chicago. And students were just having a blast, a great time. They were making videos about what's happening in the school. So they would make videos about maybe the science fair or the book fair or the poetry slam. And I just started to ask these students, well, are you doing this in your regular classes? Like, this doesn't just have to be a special. And the answer at various schools, it came back no. And I was
Uh,
like floored because the students are like, man, we feel like, we're like YouTubers. We can make videos in school. Like, students are engaged, like they want to do this sort of thing. But when they get to math class or ELA class or science, most times like they didn't have that opportunity. So that
mm,
was where the idea began. What does it look like to support teachers, right? So it's not such a heavy lift. What does it
yeah.
look like for them to integrate this into what they're already doing in core subjects? And that's what led me to start Video Pro Learning.
That's incredible, and I love that. You're right. So often our students are engaged in these really cool active learning things, but they're doing it as an elective or something, extra and not just in their core courses. So I'd love to dig into your experience with student created video projects because they tie into so many things: creativity, student voice, and our listeners here are always looking for ways to boost engagement in practical and sustainable ways. So, could you tell me, why do you believe that these video projects can be a powerful tool in today's math classrooms?
Yes, certainly. I believe number one, when we kind of look at the learning pyramid, when you go from teachers delivering instruction, which is more passive, to like students now participating in the learning, like the
Yeah.
learning pyramid talks about,
Mhm.
it's one thing for students to actually participate and do something. And then it really increases the retention when they're able to teach others. So video projects are a way for students to show understanding in a way that's relevant to them and allows them to teach others. It really makes learning memorable. And one thing that I really want to highlight, even as we start, is when we're talking about video projects in this instance, we're talking about faceless video projects, Kristen. Like,
Mm.
so many people have a perception about video production. I don't want students to have their phone out. My school doesn't
Yeah.
have cameras. That's not what we're talking about. Like, technology has evolved. Certainly, I'm sure your listeners are familiar with Canva because so
Oh,
many
yeah.
teachers, right, use the graphic design platform. They already have stock video. Google Vids. A lot of teachers are probably familiar with Google Slides, but Google
Yeah.
Vids, they already have stock video. So there is no filming, Kristen. There is no recording.
What?
If you want, like, so when I do this in a math class, I typically do this with like word problems, and we'll
Okay.
probably get into it. But word problems, a lot of times, well, in math overall, some students have negative
Oh,
math
yes.
mindsets. But with the word problems, even more so, teachers tell me that can cause students to be like nervous, and you know, they just struggle. They have some issues
Yeah.
with word problems. But if you have a word problem and you now have stock video, this provides context to that math problem, and it just really takes learning to another level.
That's incredible. Also, I would love to see if they have a video of, like the 87 cantaloupes that they say someone is always buying in these, or jumping off of the cliff in Acapulco is what I always see in algebra 2. I had no idea that you could use this stock video, or that Google Vids was a thing. So we'll make sure for sure to link that in the show notes, because I know my followers are going to want to know that. So I know, a lot of us think that creating a video is going to be kind of like too technical. So, what do you say to those teachers who feel like they don't have that kind of tech level expertise to implement this well in their classrooms?
Absolutely. So I guess I kind of alluded to it a little bit. It's not video production.
Yeah.
One thing, for the students is, again, when we talk about this stock video, students don't even have to show their faces. So this works well for those students, the littles or the elementary students, like, I don't want to be on
Oh,
camera, right? Like, this works really well for them. And it doesn't have to be a heavy lift. If a teacher is already familiar with Google Slides, then it's not a heavy lift, and it's not like starting from scratch and just so out of their wheelhouse to learn Google Vids. Again, if they've done some graphic design, if they've made a presentation on Canva, which most teachers have, right?
most of us have for sure.
Absolutely. It's not a stretch. It's not going to be just, a large undertaking to learn how to do the video process in Canva. And one thing I always like to share with teachers as well is, you know, they only need to learn a little bit about video and text. They don't have to learn
Yeah.
everything about transitions, and maybe they learn about music, but that's still optional. But
Okay.
I've worked with so many students. There will always be students who pick it up quickly, Kristen. And
Yes.
those students can help out the rest of those in class. I was working with a group today, and we were doing some things. This happened to be actually with the camera, and they were
Okay.
showing me things on camera, in terms of some of the settings that I wasn't familiar with. So, again, when you say, well, teachers feel like it's too technical, just a couple of basic things that they have to learn, and then be open to what the students will bring to the table, because they
Yeah.
will have some familiarity, they will have some knowledge that would just, allow things to work, and everybody will be able to figure it out. And again, things will go more smooth than maybe they even imagine. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's just about getting started and like
Yeah.
implementing it, and being open with students bringing what they have to the table, and that reinforces the confidence of some of those students too, that they have a knowledge that they can share as well.
I love that. You're right. It totally elevates that student status in the classroom when they have these skills that they can then share their expertise with their classmates, with their teacher. They're so used to going to class, and the teacher's the one who knows everything. And especially if they're struggling with their math identity already, right? So they're coming in, they're nervous about their own skills. And here's an opportunity for them to shine and show us, like, hey, actually, you're right. Maybe I can't do the quadratic equation for you day in and day out smoothly. But do you know what I learned on this tool? I can use Canva to make this video. I can add audio. Maybe they want to explore transitions. And you're right. Our students, they can learn so many things doing that. I love that. So okay, so you've mentioned Google Slides and Google Vids and Canva. So like if there's a teacher who's now like, okay, I'm pretty comfortable with those. I can probably figure out what Google Vids is. What's maybe one small way that a teacher could get started even this week with this kind of student created video assignment?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just say, take whatever lesson that they were going to do, and put like a 1 minute video together, and just get familiar with this stock video.
Okay.
So, you know, if it's about multiplication and they have a problem about chicken nuggets, I don't know why this always comes up.
There is though. There's chicken nugget problems for sure.
In the cafeteria, they pass out 200 chicken nuggets per class period, and they
Yeah.
have 4 lunch periods. how many do they pass out, whatever it is, but just get
Right?
the chicken nugget video or whatever is relevant to what they're doing. Maybe they're doing, well, yeah, let's stay there. Maybe they're doing that sort of thing. What does it look like to have the chicken nugget video? And what does it look like to have maybe 3 or 4 of those and put text on the screen as well? Just
Yeah.
video and text, 1 minute, and then, implement that in the classroom. The thing about, if it's a Google school, like Google
Yeah.
Vids can be connected with Google Classroom.
Ooh.
So once the teacher makes a video, every student can get their own copy. And then now the student can, you know, personalize it, change out the chicken nugget video, change out the text color, change out the font that they use, and things of that nature. It can work that way with Canva as well, where it's a template. If
Yeah.
it's not a Google school too. So just the 1 minute video about what they're teaching, and watch how excited, how inspired, how motivated the students will be just off something simple,
Oh my
video and text.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I love that you use chicken nuggets. I for sure know that like all the students can relate to that, and the kids would be like, "Mm-mm, I've got fourth lunch. I've got D lunch, is what we call it at our school." And they'd be like, "There are no chicken nuggets left, Miss Moore. I have to go to the other line. I have to get the second lunch because everyone ate chicken nuggets in the first hour."
And
That's
and let me
fantastic.
expand on that one thing as well too. Like, when teachers are making instructional videos, they know what resonates with the students,
Yes.
right? So sometimes the curriculum is created to be used universally, like
Mm-hmm.
whether it's to be used in Michigan or Illinois or in Texas, but that particular teacher knows what foods, what video games, what themes really
Yeah.
resonate with that class, so they can create something that will be meaningful and relevant to their students. That's another powerful thing as well.
Yeah, Clumped, you are speaking my language here. The real and the relevant is so important, especially like, I teach algebra 2. I've taught higher courses. A lot of times my students could care less what is written in a textbook, right? But use that as a springboard and then say, okay, great. I needed oh shoot, I can't even remember what it was. It was something in the cafeteria and it had two foods my students could not have cared less about, but they were all about the cookies and these like pops that they were getting. I don't know what you call it in Illinois, but we call it pop here, also known as soda. For probably anyone who's not in Michigan. But yeah, so I did the same thing. I flipped the script and I incorporated that instead, swapped it out. But I can only imagine that if I had done it with some stock video of like the cookies and stuff, that they would have been even more excited. And I
And
love oh no, go.
no, I was gonna say, and we do say pop in Illinois. I'm with you on that one.
Oh, yes. Okay, good to know. Good. Um, yeah, Midwesterners, we gotta stick together here.
For
Okay,
sure.
yeah. And I love the idea of I'm not a Google school, but I could imagine sharing that with my students and then letting them go and put their own spin on it. Like, "Hey,
Yeah,
now we're all gonna talk about multiplication. Go make your own video using this as inspiration."
absolutely, for sure.
That's so cool. So, okay, you've worked with a ton of students, over 800 right now. And how have you seen video assignments really like unlock that creativity or like deepen their engagement in ways that, a traditional textbook or a math task don't?
Yeah, for me, it's just getting students who normally may not be hyped to do the work, or who may not normally complete their assignments, wanting to participate, being
Mm,
enthusiastic about doing the work. And certainly, once you can get students to complete the work, that opens the door, for increased academic performance. It was just a few weeks ago, I was with a new school, and it was a young man who was a part of the program. We're doing like a STEM math program, and he felt like he had signed up for something else.
ooh.
I'm pretty sure he had signed up for my program, but either way, he was trying to get out of it. Mr. Townsend, I'm not in this program. Mr. Townsend, I'm not in this program. I'm like, well, do you actually know what this program is about? He was like, no, no, I don't. Well, how do you know that you won't like the program that you're
Okay.
in? Right? Like, you don't know until you try it. So it came to find out that he wants to be a YouTuber, which, is not uncommon. I hear that
Nope.
quite a bit. He
Oh,
wants to
yes.
be a YouTuber. He likes to play video games. So we were doing something related to math. and I don't remember the exact video game, but we had something to do with like shields. It was video games.
Oh,
You can collect shields. That's one of
okay.
those things. I'm not a gamer, but collect
Yeah.
coins, collect shields. So when we were doing the math and it was connected to video games and shields, maybe after about 30 minutes, he looked at me and said, Mr. Townsend, I'm happy I'm in this program. I want to stay
Oh,
here. And this student has remained in the program every single week. Like those type of moments, like
yes.
I see those moments, and that lets me know that this is something that student it resonates with students, and I want more students to have this type of experience in their classroom, and I want more teachers to be open to this sort of thing because that kid, it was a game changer for him.
Absolutely. That's so powerful when you can get that win for a student who, wasn't feeling it at all,
Not at all.
clearly, right? Right. But you found that way to connect with him and then he was able to bring that learning to life in a meaningful way. So that's just so powerful. And I'm so excited about this. I feel like when students are engaged with this, they're learning more than just the math skills, right?
Yes.
So we often hear about the importance of other future ready skills, and it sounds like they have the opportunity to help develop that in these video assignments. How do you think that it helps them build these real world like communication, tech skills, things like that?
Yeah, I think certainly in a society in which we live now, and even going forward, it's important for students to be able to communicate through
Mm.
video. Some people say that video is the new pen, right? Like we don't
Yeah.
necessarily write as much as we used to, but we certainly watch more video than we used to.
Oh
And I
yeah.
don't see that going anywhere. So, whatever the profession, like, I don't want people to think, well, what if the student doesn't want to be a YouTuber? If somebody actually wants to go into the medical field and they're a doctor, think about during COVID-19 when everybody was trying to figure out what is this virus.
Oh
People were
gosh.
putting videos out explaining
Yeah.
what is this virus all about, so even a doctor could utilize some creation skills.
Mhm.
Certainly if you want to go into finance and you want to explain about wealth management or budgeting, being able to create videos to kind of like showcase your expertise could be a
Yes.
way to get new clients. So I mean, I can go on and on and on. Like certainly if you want to
Mm.
be a chef and you want to own a restaurant, I mean, food videos on Instagram, that
Gets
that's
me
that
every
gets
time.
that gets me every time. Like that gets me. So it's one thing to be able to create food, but if you can create food and create the videos to show it off, I mean, your business
Right?
will explode. That sort of thing too. So when you talk about these future ready skills like
Yeah.
this content creation, certainly communicating through video, being proficient with technology.
Mm.
Like
Mhm.
a lot of people talk about digital natives and students grow up with these
Yes.
devices. But I do think there's a distinction between students knowing how to scroll and knowing how to do things socially and knowing how to do things professionally. So when we're talking
Yes.
about math and we're talking about video creation, this gives them another more professional skill set that I think that they can find some value in that they may not naturally have.
Yeah, I love that you've highlighted that. You're right. Our students know a lot about how to use tech for entertainment purposes,
Yes.
right? But when they're in our classroom, our goal is to teach them skills that they can take outside of the classroom. And, they aren't going to need to know, oh gosh, what did I just teach? Oh, they are not going to need to know how to convert between exponential and logarithmic forms. So sorry, Algebra 2, you did great on your test. But they are going to need to know other skills that they can be proficient in. And so giving them this opportunity to practice those skills where they're still communicating and problem solving and thinking critically, things I want them to know in general in math, and they're doing it in this new way, they're learning those skills that they can take and apply really to then any tech because tech is always changing, right? Like, who knows what is going to be out tomorrow? Who knew that generative AI was going to take over so rapidly, right? So, if we can teach them how to learn these tools and do these things, get them comfortable, then they're more comfortable moving from platform to platform, which again is much more transferable than any exponent rule that I taught them.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And one thing as well, I just feel like this can change some students' perspective towards learning.
Oh, yeah.
There will always be those students that say, I know the importance of school and I'm going to do my best and things of that nature. But because society and technology has evolved so much, like how are we presenting learning or, putting learning in a context that students feel is like relevant. So now you're talking about going from platform to platform, things of that nature, having students just have a positive, I think this is something about you as well, like a joyful learning experience,
Mm,
right? So when students
yes.
have a joyful learning experience, that like transcends just the math and just the algebra and things of that nature, and that can allow them to go far in life. I know some traditional people focus on test scores, but for me, how does learning, how do we develop lifelong learners? I think that is
Mhm.
going to carry them far in life.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. So I'm really excited. You've definitely got my wheels turning about how I could start incorporating this more into my classroom. For the other teachers out there who are listening right now, if they were to, walk away from this episode with just like one major, maybe mindset shift, what would you want it to be when it comes to, using instructional videos in class?
Yeah, I would definitely say that when students create to learn, they remember for life. This is
Oh,
a unique experience. Like I always say, it makes learning memorable. So I would want them to walk away with that sort of thing. Like when students are making videos, they're constantly connecting or going over the material. Certainly, this is, a math focused podcast. And it even happens in math, but I'm just thinking about English, even though it's math. Like sometimes when you're writing a story, you're like revising and you're going over and things of that
yeah.
nature. So, but back to math, as you make the video, like you're constantly going over keep change flipped or whatever
Oh my
that
gosh,
thing might be,
all day today.
right? So,
All day.
like, as they make their video or as the teacher now shows some of the exemplary videos, like they're reviewing this sort of thing and it's
Yeah.
sticking. It provides that stickiness. So I would want them to take away that why would I want to do this? It makes learning memorable. That's what I hope that teachers take away.
That's incredible, and I am still a pen and paper girl, so I've been taking notes, along the way. I love what you said, "When students create to learn, they remember for life." Friends, that
Yeah.
should be, like, the background of your phone, your computer, something just make it something that you have in your life. Maybe don't tattoo it because you might regret that later, but you won't regret making it your background on your phone. Um, that's incredible, and now I have so many ideas. I did do keep change with flip with my students in algebra 2. We're still working on keep change flip, uh, which is
Is
gonna
that
take a
right?
little
Like
bit.
that example was relevant for you.
That was totally relevant for me. Yeah, yeah. I mean, my students were figuring out, like, the tangent of a point on a unit circle, but in order to do that, they had to do fraction division, and all day today, I heard them. They're like, "Remember, man, it was just like we did keep, change, flip. You keep this one the same, and then you change it, and then you flip." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, take me back." So,
They remembered it. They remembered
they
it.
did. Yes, yes, they did, and I love what you said. I've got a geometry intervention class, and we're getting to the point where we're, like, wrapping up our skills, so I'm gonna go try this. Listeners, you can hold me to it, at me at more than just X somewhere, and ask if I've done my videos with my students yet. I'm super excited for them to create and remember and see how this goes. Clemt, this has been such a great conversation. I know I'm gonna keep in contact with you. Where else can our listeners connect with you and learn more about Video Pro Learning?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly, they can go check out the website, videoprolearning.com. I'm always excited to work with math teachers. Specifically, with that website, we're working with elementary math teachers. I'm
Okay.
super active on LinkedIn, always willing to chat with teachers on LinkedIn. It's just my first name, my last name. I do a little TikTok here and there, Kristen, but
You dabble.
right, I dabble. That can be a little time consuming trying to do
Mhm.
TikTok. And I'm also on Instagram. That's C
Perfect.
Townsend TV. So any of those places, I'm always looking forward to, excited, willing to like chat with teachers, brainstorm
Yeah.
ideas. I think this is just such a unique way to get students motivated with these faceless videos. Again, Students do not have to record, they do not have to film, and teachers can use whatever curriculum they're already using. Like they don't
Yeah.
have to change their curriculum. It's just a supplemental way to like reinforce what they've taught in a way that students remember it in a way that's relevant for students.
I love it. Yeah, and you're right. It's such a I don't wanna say it's like low lift project replacement, but it kind of is. Like they don't have to gather all these materials. They don't have to make sure like, okay, everyone's got to bring in their 2-liter bottles of pop for our pop rockets, right? The students can still engage in really meaningful and rich work through creating these videos. I love that students don't have to have their faces in there. That's great. You're right. Those exemplars then can live on forever. Um, just such a fantastic way to think about making math class or any class really more relevant for students. So, thank you so much for like sharing this idea with our audience here. And I'm going to make sure everybody has contacts for you on LinkedIn and Instagram. Maybe we won't send them to TikTok because I'm with you. I'm like, I had a TikTok and I've made like 4, and that's a no go for me.
It can be a little time consuming to keep that up.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I've loved seeing your work online. I've loved this whole conversation. I'm so excited to try out some of these ideas. Listeners, I definitely want you to go check out videoprolearning.com for more tips and to see what's going on over there. And I'm going to make sure that I have everything linked for you here in the show notes. Thank you so much, Clempt, for this powerful, this practical conversation. I have so many ideas that I wrote down, so I hope my listeners weren't driving because they probably equally got as many ideas that they could not write down. But I'm so glad to have had you on here, and thank you so much for joining us today.
This has been awesome. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. All right, listeners. Well, hey, if you loved this episode, make sure you connect with Clement. There we go. I got this on LinkedIn, TikTok, or Instagram. And don't forget to share this episode with a colleague who's been looking for new ways to boost engagement. Again, you guys, it's the end of the year. We know our students are crazy. They're going to want something fun to engage them. This sounds like the absolute perfect thing to try out this May. So make sure you do that. And until next time, guys, keep doing what you're doing. Try to keep your sanity while our classrooms are going crazy. And as always, everybody, keep it real.